Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Before we get started, I just want to take a second and say thank you to everyone for all the support and the comments and kind gestures and just everything on the last few videos. It's awesome. I appreciate it so much, especially like the DNA one, where people were explaining just how things could have worked out and how easy it was to actually pinpoint my DNA test and everything. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for that, and I appreciate all the support and everything on it. So without further ado, today's video is the top 10 amazing facts about Scotland. I'm pretty excited to get into it, so let's just go. I wanted to dig a little bit more into Scotland for a couple reasons. For one, I think it's a beautiful country and I want to learn more about it. But two, it was the number one, DNA origins, I guess, on my test that I took. So I just wanted to dig more into it. So let's see what we got here.
Welcome to Top 10 Archive.
It's
From
just
Alexander
so
Graham Bell to Tayberries and
Just so
unicorns, Scotland is a northern European country filled with remarkable history and breathtaking scenery. Here are the top 10 interesting facts about Scotland.
Let's do it.
Number 10. Old trees and Pontius Pilate. In the heart of Scotland stands one of Europe's oldest trees.
Pilate.
The Fortingall yew is believed by experts to be over
look at that tree.
5,000 years old.
Look at that
It's named for
tree.
the small village in which it can be found, Fortingall in Perthshire. Surrounding the tree for miles upon miles is some of the most archaeologically well-known sites in the country.
Okay.
From plague burial grounds to the remains of a 1,300-year-old monastery, no other place in Scotland has such a history. Legends say that Pontius Pilate...
I'm going to quit real quick here. I'm a kind of a weird guy. Scotland's climate, their weather, the way it looks, it really adds up to me. Like, it's raining outside right now. It's cool. It's like 40, 42 degrees, Fahrenheit. And that's my kind of weather. Like, I know Scotland, the UK in general, they're made fun of for getting a lot of rain, but that's my kind of weather. So I always thought like the fog and the atmosphere, the climate and stuff around Scotland just adds to the beauty of the Highlands.
The Roman governor, who is said to sentence Jesus to death, was born by the tree and often played in its shade as a child. The story cannot be verified, but it ties Scotland to the history of Christianity.
Interesting.
Number 9. The Edinburgh Vaults. Beneath the streets of Scotland's capital, Edinburgh, lies a series of underground chambers and passageways that are referred to as the Edinburgh Vaults. The vaults were not a city before streets were raised or
Paris catacombs?
tunnels to transport illicit goods, as is so commonly misconceived.
No,
but
doesn't sound
rather
like it.
connecting cellars that were once used for legitimate businesses. As time passed, everything from underground pubs to illegal tenement houses for poor immigrants were erected.
Oh, that's
Today,
so cool.
the vaults are thought to be one of Edinburgh's many haunted locations
I could see
due
that.
to a string of murders that took place in the area.
How cool would it be, though, to be like, hey, you guys want to go out to a pub tonight? Sure. Let's go underground. That'd be awesome.
Stories of human remains, including entire dead bodies, being sold in the Edinburgh vaults began to pop up after public executions were performed and the bodies were stowed away.
Oh, okay. Well,
Number 8.
Not where I thought that would turn.
Scottish cuisine.
all right.
Out of all the different countries that we've covered on Top 10 Archive so far, the Scottish are probably the best known for their abundance of national dishes. So the next time you decide to poke fun at a Scotsman for his cooking, remember he'll probably take a...
I'm sorry to keep pausing it, but, when we did the Scottish, the main Scottish foods dishes, I didn't expect them to say this, you know what I mean? Like, I was expecting, to me, that's more like the Italian cuisine or the, like the, like, I don't know. Just I wasn't thinking Scotland's cuisine. I was thinking Greek,
to it
Italian.
and rough you up a bit. While
Stuff like
wearing a
that.
kilt.
German.
But all joking aside, the Scottish have gifted many cuisines to the world, the most popular of which are probably haggis, Dundee cake, clootie dumplings, and lucky toddy. The Scots are also responsible for patenting the Tayberry, when Scotsman Derek L. Jennings of Dundee crossed a blackberry and red raspberry in 1979.
Huh. Interesting.
Number 7. Gingerly Love. A rumor has been floating around the internet saying that there's a good chance redheads will be extinct within the next 100 years. Of course, this theory doesn't hold much weight, yet it did get a fair amount of attention. There's one place the ginger gene is destined to live on, and that's southeast Scotland. It is believed that 40% of the population in this part of the world are carriers of the gene. Scientists believe that this may be an evolutionary advantage in the far north,
That's an
where it is
insane
often
amount
so
of
cloudy.
carriers.
The human body requires a significant amount of vitamin D. Redheads, who so often have a somewhat light complexion, are generally able to absorb more than those people with darker pigmentations.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Number 6. Scottish inventions. Scotland lays claim to countless inventions and inventors, many of which we take for granted today, but are crucial to our
like an
daily
early
lives
microphone.
nonetheless. The most famous of which is probably Alexander Graham Bell, who is credited for inventing and innovating the telephone. On the other hand,
I was close.
many Scottish inventors have received little recognition or none at all. Kirkpatrick Macmillan is the man behind the modern-day pedal bicycle, yet he's almost unheard of.
I've
This
never
is
heard of him.
because others took credit and profited off of his inventions.
And of course they did.
Although fax machines are now old technology, it was crucial to businesses for decades and was invented by a Scotsman named Alexander Bain. He began work on the first
Alexander seems to
rudimentary
be
machine
pretty
of its
popular with
type
smart
in the
people.
mid-1940s. Number 5. The official animal. Scotland has 2 official animals, the red lion and the unicorn. Yeah, that's right, a freaking unicorn. It's really not that surprising considering the love Scotland has for tall tales and legend.
Fair enough.
The unicorn is a revered Celtic symbol representing grace, purity,
I was thinking more
healing,
like
and happiness.
The Loch Ness
The creature
Monster
was
kind of
printed
thing.
on gold coins during the time King James III was in power between the years 1466 and 1488 AD. To this day,
Wow.
a unicorn
both on there,
still
too.
appears on the United Kingdom's royal coat of arms, standing directly across from the lion.
That's respectable.
Number 4, the Mother Field. There is quite a tumultuous and fascinating
Yeah.
history of sport throughout Scotland. The country is considered to be the mother field, for lack of a better word, of golf.
Yeah.
It was here that the sport was invented during the 15th century. It caught on so quickly
didn't realize
and
it was
became
that
so
old. Holy cow.
addicting for some that King James II had the sport outlawed, and with good reason, of course, saying it prevented his men from properly training for war.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Football, also known as soccer in the United States, was outlawed by King James I in 1421. He was far from pleased with the amount of roughness implemented during matches and thought it was unnecessarily injuring others. The ban lasted for a number of years, but was finally lifted in 1872 when Scotland held the first international football game.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that. I'm gonna call it soccer. I didn't realize that soccer was invented in Scotland. I did know golf probably was. I'm trying to think of the name of that course. Man, I used to be such a golf fan that I knew what it was. Oh, St. Andrews. That's in Scotland if I'm not mistaken, correct? But I didn't realize that golf was so old, and same with soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. Wow.
Number 3, free water. Scotland is a sovereign
water.
state in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Although it's part of the UK's constitutional monarchy, Scotland is still very independent. For one, its education system is separate and governed from within the country. Scotland offers free water to its citizens, although oil and forms of nuclear energy are governed by the UK.
Yeah.
A very interesting aspect to Scotland's
Free
healthcare
water.
system is that the country provides free prescription drugs to those in need. This is something few other countries are capable of doing. Much of the police force and judicial system are also different to that of the UK. Number 2, the Vikings. The Norse have had a lasting effect on Scottish
Yeah, I
culture.
mean-
During the 11th century, they conquered many of Scotland's smaller islands before taking on the main British Isle. While the stereotypical Viking is pictured as being ruthless and bloody, the real Vikings were much different. Family life was very important to these men, and they took their wives with them as soon as new land had been successfully conquered. Scotland was a vital part of the Vikings' main trade route, which expanded all the way from Newfoundland to Baghdad. During these times, Scotland truly was a dark and hostile place to travel through. Number 1.
Okay, Loch Ness. Before we get going any further, I am very much aware that I am feeding into the stereotype, but I have never heard anybody talk kindly about the Vikings. I don't want to say it like that, but you know, when you hear about Vikings, you always hear about the ruthlessness, and when they're depicted in shows and, you know, and like video games and stuff like that. I mean, media in general, it's always just, you know, the braided hairs, the beard, the horns on the helmet. They're just brutal and they're fierce warriors, but I don't know why I never really sat down to think about it. They're just people, you know. They might have been really good warriors and really strong, but they're just people. I like that. I like that a lot.
The Loch Ness Monster. The first ever recorded sighting of the elusive Loch Ness Monster occurred in 565 AD when a water beast allegedly attacked one of St. Columba's followers in the loch. To date, there are over 3,000 recorded sightings of the monster, which started to first consistently flow around the mid-1930s. It is said to be at least 40 feet long and to have an abnormally long giraffe-like neck. For the first time since 1925, no confirmed sightings have been noted in the past few years. This leads skeptics and other theorists to wonder, has Nessie finally expired? At this time, there is no answer for such a complex question. Whatever the case, Loch Ness will remain one of Scotland's most infamous tourist attractions because of the legend and allure that encompasses the landscape. Like these top 10 videos?
Alright, that was interesting. So, my first question, let me know in the comments down below if you believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Number 2, if they really thought it might have expired by now, you could probably go ahead and just put a submarine in there, just a small one, you know, something where you got a chance to get away from it, and you could try to find the animal. But that was interesting, you know. I didn't realize that Scotland, and of course he didn't dive too much into like some of the inventions, but I didn't realize that they had some inventors that were, for one, from Scotland. I didn't realize that's where Alexander Graham Bell was from, and two, that, you know, they have some inventions in the world that just people took credit for, and I think that's interesting. Definitely not what I was expecting. I don't know why. I say that with almost every video I do. But that was interesting, yeah. And I'm excited to learn more about Scotland and to deep dive even further into it. And yeah, just keep going with this. So thank everybody for being here today. I appreciate it very, very much. Leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think of Scotland. If they're missing any facts, I do know this video is a few years old, so you could be missing some things, or some things could have been updated by now. Share this with all your friends. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's free for you. Helps me tremendously. And yeah, other than that, thank you all so much for being here, and have a good day.